Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, June 11th, 2015 is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, if you could please call the roll.
Commissioner Dorband. Here. Commissioner Johnson, I am here. Commissioner Powers.
I'm here.
Commissioner Stylen.
Here.
Commissioner Zangara.
Here.
And Chairman Raffato.
Here. Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
No, we have no changes tonight.
Citizens' concerns and comments. At this time, anyone can speak about items other than those that are on our docket for review tonight. Nobody. Consent items, docket number SCBA 15-20, Keats Manufacturing, 350 Holbrook Drive, appearance approval of an awning sign. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Dorband, second by Commissioner Zangara. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Dorband.
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson is yes. Commissioner Powers.
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen.
Yes.
And Chairman Raffato.
Yes. Items for review, docket numbers PC 15-8 and SCBA 15-21, Laundry World, 1201 West Dundee Road. Minor site plan and appearance approval of modifications to building facade. And SCBA 1521, appearance approval of a freestanding sign. Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. The dockets in front of you tonight are somewhat of a result of the inspections related to the certificate of occupancy for this building. There were a couple of discrepancies noted during these inspections. There was a base material added as an accent over the previous base material along the storefront area of the building. So the minor appearance approval would be for that. The sign has not yet received its formal review and approval. There's a panel on the sign, the previously installed sign structure that identifies the business. The current proposal is to allow that sign permanently. There's landscaping that has been installed. Some of it matches up with what was previously on the landscape plan for the site. Some of it does not. So at this point, what we'd like to do is try to work toward resolving the discrepancies with both the sign and the appearance of the building.
Great. Is the petitioner here? If you can come forward, please, to the podium. Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Could you give your name and business address, please?
Patty Dlugolecki, and business address, our business, 1201 West Dundee.
Sure. Great.
DLUGOLECKI.
So the floor is yours. So if you can explain what you're going to be doing.
I just got into this yesterday. The person that was originally taking care of this got sick suddenly, so I just took that over. I have been with the project since the beginning. I just didn't take part in this part. I did get an email yesterday, and there was, I guess, an issue with the tree stumps, which have been now removed in the landscaping. So I know that was one of the issues.
I don't know if I photographed that.
Yes.
Well, why don't we start with the minor site plan. Andrew, if you could help us through here.
Yes,
So,
please.
Sure. So the original approval did not include these, the decorative base.
The limestone.
Yes. Sorry, I went back too far there. Which you can see on both the north and the east elevation of the building. We had suggested to the petitioner to go ahead and seek the approval of those during the time where the certificate of occupancy is under review. The landscaping Aside from the stumps, landscaping, we're checking it. Some of the plants are smaller than what is allowed by code. Some of the plants have been swapped out. You have in your packet, I believe, the landscape plan. Most of the changes are at the base of the sign area.
Okay,
So most of what would be reviewed with the sign would also be up for discussion tonight. So there are, like I said, a couple of things that didn't match up. I don't know exactly what's planted there. I can tell that it isn't what was on the plan.
did you want everything as per plan?
Yes, as
Yes.
per plan,
Okay.
is what we prefer. If there
Okay.
are, we understand that there are needs, occasionally you can't find something, it's out of stock, one season to the next, the nurseries don't produce it. So if there's a need to make a swap, or if your landscaper looks at it and says, these are gonna get killed by the salt in this location, and they make a change, we just need to be informed of that so we can double check the species and make sure that everything's okay.
We can get that corrected, that's not a problem.
Okay, that's cool. All right. And, and then the sign, appearance approval.
Which sign are we talking about? Are we talking about the
The
storefront?
freestanding sign.
Okay,
Right. So what we're seeing here, Andrew, is,
This is the panel that was installed when we notified the petitioner that the sign had never been reviewed and approved. The drawing for this is what was submitted. So the sign had been installed, as you see, and then we got the drawing for it.
I thought maybe miraculously they would have been making changes to this rather,
Well, this sign has,
sign,
yes, so
right.
this sign has not yet been approved, so it is possible to,
Okay,
at
great.
this point, make modifications to it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anything to add?
now this sign is almost the same sign as it was before. The colors were changed and we just put in different panel.
The sign was previously a single, the store was divided up. This building was one single store that was divided up. It has
Yes.
not previously been a multi-panel sign.
Yes, so I think that's the only difference. It hasn't been a multi-tenant space, on the signage.
Well, and the colors were changed,
Yes,
right? Because the base wasn't that,
I think it was dark brown.
right?
yes.
Yeah, okay. So, okay. Anything else to add?
I mean, we're willing to work, with
Sure.
the
Oh,
city.
no.
Whatever needs
I
to get
understand.
done, we'll get it done.
Completely understand. So I'll start with petitioners. Commissioner Zangara.
Obviously, with the landscaping, you pretty much said you would try to switch out whatever. So, I mean, as long as you're okay with that, I'm good with that. The sign, what I would suggest, because I know you do have the addresses above each door,
Yes, we do.
could we get at least an address on that sign somehow? I mean, I'd like to see people driving down the street.
They don't.
I mean, I know everyone sees Laundry World, but, if you're looking for an address, it's a lot easier to see it. It's a nice, big sign. It's far enough back where it doesn't block a lot of views. The colors do match the building, so I wasn't too, I don't have too many complaints about it. It's not like you went and, like you said, you basically changed colors and, is there only expected 2 other tenants in that building, or is there just one, or you don't even know yet?
We are not sure yet.
Okay. But otherwise, I'd like to see an address put on there, so as you're driving down the street, you could see
By the address, did you want us to, where would you like to see it? The
I would
address?
almost like it on the top panel
On the
of
top
the
panel.
beige. There's like 3 panels, that top one.
Do you have a color preference? Just black, maybe?
Just so people could see it, I mean,
Okay,
But, I mean, that's basically the comments I have, so,
okay.
thank you.
Just writing something. Commissioner Powers.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Before I comment, I just wanted to make a couple comments about the site in general. Appreciate you re-seal coating and re-striping the parking lot. I just wanted to have a comment about when I was by there yesterday, I noticed that the handicap parking sign was duct taped to the wall. Is there a way we can get that mounted on a pole somewhere on the east facade?
Yes, that can,
Okay. regarding the landscaping, I looked at the landscape plan and tried to see what kind of plants in there. The plants, I mean, the plants not being of size, Andrew, which ones are we talking about? Like the bigger ones, like the boxwood plants? The grasses?
Most of what we're referring to are the perennials along the perimeter.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that, because some of those didn't look too healthy. And how long ago were those put in, do you know?
Beginning maybe April.
Okay. Yeah, because, I mean, those are really small. Looked like the numbers were there. I don't know, somehow, yeah, those definitely need to be bigger. One thing I noticed was that the landscape plan called for 3-inch calipers on the trees. And the 3 trees on Dundee have a tag on them that say 2 to 2.5. To me, that we asked for 3, and I don't know if the 3 inches weren't available, but I think we kind of went on the small side of the trees, but unfortunately, I don't know if there's anything you can do about it. I think the calipers could have been a little bit bigger on those trees, and the same goes for the tree on Schoenbeck. Although it says it's a, can't remember what the tree, to me, it doesn't look like an elm tree. It looks like something different. It looks like a honey locust tree or something. So I think if we want to make sure that the landscape plan is intact, I would ask that whatever tree was planted and replaced on the Schoenbeck side be verified, and if it's different than what's on the plan, that the plan would be changed to reflect that.
And we can go, what we can do is, when the landscaper is out, if you call us in advance and let us know when they plan to come out.
Yep.
Our staff will come out, we'll meet with the landscaper and yourself on site if you want to walk through it. We can, for the most part, we can make some changes on site with you if you have some trouble finding certain plants. It's just having the discussion and working through it, I think, is what we're looking for.
I'll definitely do that. I'll call it in.
So my general comment about the landscaping is, yeah, the ones in the front, they definitely got to be made bigger, and I'm a little bit disappointed with the size of the caliper of the trees on the 4 trees that you replaced. As far as the monument sign goes, I agree with Commissioner Zangaro about putting an address on there. But I guess I'm not happy with the color of the sign, and that I wish it would have stayed a darker color. I'm not sure if I'm so thrilled with the color that was there, and I understand you put the limestone base on the building. Mm-hmm. Maybe somehow you could tie it in and incorporate it on the sign somehow. I don't know, just to tie that in, because it really was, it really wasn't there, but you put the cap there, somehow change that. And as far as the tenant panels underneath Laundry World, I guess that's one place you could put it, or you could put it on the post. But if you put it on the post and you take it off of where you're going to have it now, and I'm not sure, because Laundry World to me seems to be like the main tenant, and then you're going to have the other subtenants underneath there.
What if we put, I'm sorry, what if we put like the address, not on the panel, but on the structure itself?
I think what we're looking at is probably right here.
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara, that's, I believe, what you were talking about.
That way.
Yeah, I just, boy, and I guess putting the tenant name under Laundry, the 2 tenant names under Laundry World's okay, but I don't know what else you could do. I don't know. Putting them underneath there, I guess, is okay, but my general comment, I've kind of made it, and I'd like to hear what my other fellow commissioners have to say. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Dorban. I'm looking at who I checked off, and your name wasn't checked off, but I still couldn't call your name. Commissioner Dorban.
I like the facade, I like with the changes, I think that's nice. The only problem I have is the background to Laundry World on the monument sign
Okay.
and the color on the building are 2 different colors. One's burgundy, one's red. That bothers me a lot. I think that, you're looking for some consistency, it appears, by the lower part of the that you've added on the bottom and the color you added in the middle. But then you've got two different colors of, like I said, one red and one burgundy. That's my, throw that out to everybody and see how they feel about that.
Is that it? Anything else?
That's all.
I'm sorry. Commissioner Steinle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree that we need an address sign on the bottom. I think that's absolutely required. I agree with Pam that the wall sign seems to be a very vibrant, bright red color, and the monument sign is definitely a darker color. And I would like, I think I'd like to see both the Laundry World signs have the same color text. One thing that I would also ask for is when the additional tenants come in, and even today, that the white panels be changed to match whatever the background color of the Laundry World tenant panel sign, and that when you do get a tenant, that they continue to use that same background color, not go with some crazy sign that now all of a sudden has colors all over. So I would like you to pick a nice background color and then make the Laundry World on both buildings, the Laundry World text color, the same color. So I don't know how you do that, but I think that's your decision. The other thing that I noticed on the pork chop exiting the parking lot on Dundee Road, it appears to be a right-in only from Dundee, and I think it's anticipated that there be a no right turn exit on Dundee because the pork chop's facing the other way.
Right.
But there's no signage there that says no exit allowed, no right turn. I presume you don't want a left turn there either.
Yeah, that is one of the comments that we had for the certificate of occupancy. It wasn't a requirement originally, but it was when we went out, the old sign that's faded is still out there. So we're gonna have them take the old sign down, and then the new sign, we felt it was confusing as well. It says do not enter, but it's not specific about what it is you're not supposed to enter. So we thought maybe a tag, a panel below it that says no exit to Dundee or something could clear it up. Because otherwise you might end up with somebody going, it's very narrow, so you might end up with somebody going out and somebody coming in.
Yeah, I know. I got halfway out and said, I don't think my car is going to fit here. And the other thing that I did notice, I think the landscaping needs to be updated around the sign. I'm really disappointed about the caliper of the trees, but on the original site plan for the property, there were also 2 trees along Schoenbeck Road, and now there only seems to be one that's closest to the sign. The one that's closest to the southern drive appears to have vanished. So if we're going to put a tree in, I would suggest that it be a 3-inch caliper tree.
And to be honest with you, I don't know why we can't ask for what we want, even the things that have been planted.
I suppose we can. I mean, that's...
Right, that's what we're here for. Exactly, right.
So, I don't know how we decide what colors, right? But I think a background needs to be common for the entire sign, and I'd like the text, Laundry World text color to match Laundry World color on the sign. So maybe you might want to take a poll on that, Jim, later on.
I will, once we're done. Yep,
That's all I have. Thank you.
great, thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. As far as the the limestone work on the building, I think it did improve the look of the building. It does raise the question to me is how it got that far before it was caught on any inspection. I mean,
It was caught quite some time ago. We just took some time to get to this point. We've had some difficulty communicating, not knowing exactly who with the management company has what authority. So it did take some time to get a little farther along here.
well, luckily it's a good enhancement. I too agree that the address should be on the pylon part of this freestanding sign. Are all the addresses considered Dundee Road, all three of them? Okay. So you could do a 1201 to
Yes.
12 whatever it
Well,
is.
it's going to be 1201 A, B, and C.
Oh, okay, there.
Wouldn't you just then put
Yeah,
1201?
then just 1201 would be fine. I have to agree with Commissioner Stylen that the sign color should match the wall sign, which I can attest to being very vibrant red. It lights up our upstairs bedrooms. We live right across the street. So yeah, that should be made to match. I'd like to see some kind of graphic on that sign. To me, it's rather boring.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we can do there. And all the backgrounds for the two tenant signs should match. And let's see, do I have anything else? No, I believe that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I agree, and I think we have a consensus that the pylon sign, really, that panel needs to change, and needs to change to the color of the Laundry World on the sign. And I couldn't figure out what was bugging me about that sign, and now I know, because it's, that is, I don't even know if that's the same font as what's on the wall sign, but that's white versus red. And that the background color isn't even close to what, as Commissioner Dorban said, is not even close to what the Laundry World sign was. So are we in agreement that that should be swapped, and that the text on the monument sign should match the text on the wall? And then the background, what I would probably like to do would be to have the petitioner go and talk to a sign person and see what could be done in the back, because I don't think that's our decision to make if they can do something a little bit creative. And then have the two tenant signs to match that. Well, I have to have them match right now, but to match those bottom ones. And then the actual sign, that color, that, I don't know how anybody else feels, but that pedestal is, there's a lot there.
Yep. It's
Well,
big.
the address will help break that up a little bit.
I think it sign's too big almost. It's big.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, is that code, that sign? Is it?
The sign, the structure was existing.
Yeah.
The sign, the base of a sign is not part of the sign, in terms of sign area, the base of the sign is not part of it. So the overall appearance of the base is what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Clearly on a monument
Right.
sign. And just procedurally, the code distinguishes between a single-tenant freestanding sign and a multi-tenant sign in a couple of ways. So it's possible for a sign to have its, a multi-tenant sign to have its appearance approved without any specific tenant knowledge. So you can have the base, the address, and the idea of having, it's going to be black panels with white text on them. And that would be the appearance of the sign. And any tenant that wants to deviate from that in the future would have to come in for a sign review. If they stick with what is allowed for that particular sign, you don't ever have to see any individual tenant.
So if we say that the background on the two tenant signs has to match what is up on top, and as long as they adhere to that, something can come in, but if
Right.
anything's different, they're going to have to,
So if the commission agrees to approve the sign, you could approve it basically with one large panel on top, two smaller panels below it. Otherwise, what the code says is the panels have to match each other. So you can approve a 3-panel sign where the third panel is larger, and you could say, you could come up with the background and say everything is consistent, otherwise something that deviates from it has to come back for a sign review.
but I want to see what that background color is.
Sure.
And, and I don't think we should make that decision.
To have a sign company provide a drawing.
Right, have a sign company provide the drawing. Now, the base, though, was the base just painted to match?
Yes.
Wow. Maybe if you had some higher plants,
That's what I was going to ask. Are the plants there the ones that were called out?
Yeah.
just to break that thing up.
They are?
They are, you know.
But see, we didn't know we didn't know what this was going to look like because it never came before us.
This is the first time.
Right. So the landscaping really isn't appropriate for this because you need something to break that up. You really do.
Well, that's kind of why I mentioned the limestone wall, although I know it's going to be expensive. I mean, that would make the pole look shorter, but the plants could do it too, yep.
Plus the landscaping does not match, correct?
Some of it does. Some of it is per plan, and some of it's not. We haven't had a discussion about why some of it was swapped, why we saw different plants out there. We haven't gone into much detail at all about the sizes. It's, we knew that this review was required, and we wanted to start with this and get the ball rolling on resolving.
Are you the owner of this? Or are you
The manager,
You're the manager of Laundry World?
Yes.
So you're not the owner of the building?
no.
Okay. Because I just find it incomprehensible that somebody could do all of this work without even thinking that that they don't need to get an okay from the village. I just find that
I think
unbelievable.
originally he thought because this is an existing sign, the only thing we did was split up the top part.
And you painted it, and you did all of those things. So it's just incomprehensible. I'm of the opinion, and I'll ask the board that we table the approval of this sign until they can come back with the top sign where the panels are, what that's going to look like. And then an enhancement to the landscaping to at least get some higher landscaping to take care of that pedestal. Commissioner Stalin?
Jim, I just have a question, right? We keep talking about the landscaping plan for the sign. When was that ever made? I have the original plan here that just shows 3 hedge shrubs
Right, so,
and no other plantings at all.
right, exactly.
So
Yes.
I don't think we've really seen a landscaping plan for the sign per se,
That's a good point.
or an approved plan, let me
It
put it
is,
that way.
right, it is proposed with
Right.
this.
So this is proposed, what we have here, and it's not what I think we want. Yes?
And I do have one other question. You said, I think I heard you say that you wanted the font style of Laundry World on the building to match the fonts?
Wouldn't you want that? Or no?
Well, I just
I did
thought,
say that, but, that was my opinion, and I can,
yeah, I mean, I just, if we're going to do that, we need to make it very explicit as well.
well, and I was going to ask everybody about that anyway. Commissioner Zangar?
I just noticed if you zoom in on the sign, there's a piece missing off the sign.
On the sign that's being
There's a
displayed now?
cap.
Yes.
This right here, there's a cap, there's a trim piece missing.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, so
Before we get into...
I wasn't even close yet, but go ahead.
Oh, okay, when you're ready.
No, go ahead, no, ask.
Well,
Yeah,
I kind of like the idea of what Steve said about putting that stone around the bottom to tie in the sign into the building. I mean, I think it would give the sign a little more character, and it might actually enhance whatever bushes are put in front of it as well.
It's a lot of money.
So, I mean, maybe we want to have that be another item we talk about? Or poll, or
You could,
however you want to handle it.
Is the facade color of the building and the knee wall color, are they the same
No,
color?
if you see right there, they're not, they're,
Then I think Pam might have and Steve might have a good idea. If you put the stone kind of around the base of the sign, it'd be a different color, and then the color of the sign could be the facade color,
I would
which I
agree.
think it is.
I would agree.
That might break it up.
It might break it up, and you could, we might be able to live with the existing,
I think it might give it more interest too. I mean, right now it just looks like it's plunked there.
Right.
If that stone
and the
was
amazing
added.
thing is that it's just because it's a,
Color.
Bulky.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but the other tenant that was there for years, it's the same sign.
Yeah. That the
Well,
color makes it look.
Maybe we have to accept it now.
Exactly.
It's also, we don't have the existing conditions photos from the original review, but it's possible that there was landscaping there that was taller.
Probably. So, okay, first thing, concurrence about putting a base on the on that sign. Commissioner Steinle, that would match what they put in there.
I'll have to ask our architect here, the knee wall, how high do you think that is, and how high would that come up the bottom of the sign? Would it be
probably the one panel,
just one panel's
just one
worth?
panel. Because proportionally, it would match then one panel with the red and then the top. I mean, I would just go one panel.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd go with what Paul said.
Commissioner Zangar?
Yeah, I would either agree that, or even if the landscaper wanted, if he's going to come to a plan, I even thought if they built the whole bed up a couple feet might even do something. So, and it could be an option if they want. So, I mean, those would be my two, either wrap it like has been requested, or if they wanted to maybe try to build up the whole bed.
We're looking at wrapping.
And I'm okay with wrapping.
Commissioner Dorban?
Wrapping, definitely.
Commissioner Johnson?
That would be ideal, but, that's, I'm sure, a very expensive option for them
Well,
versus
something.
coming up with landscaping.
I know. I'll put you down as a no.
Okay.
Commissioner Powers?
I want to see it wrapped.
So would I. I'd like to see that done. Okay. And then as far as the font on the, there was something that I brought up, the font on the monument sign. Should it, I don't even know if it matches now. It could match now, but it looks definitely different.
The sign guy will know.
Do we want it to match? Do we care?
I think
we
it would
care?
look.
Yeah, I think it would look, ensure that the fonts match, and we want the colors to match on the font, and you can decide on the background of the panel.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question?
Sure.
The petitioner, do you know, I am pretty sure the owner said he had other facilities like this one,
We
right?
have 12 older ones.
Are they all called Laundry World?
Yes, they are.
Are the fonts all the same as this one?
Yes, everything is the same.
Any of the signs that are for Laundry World, do any of those incorporate a graphic into it at all?
No.
And any sign that you,
That's our
that he has?
standard sign.
Okay, I just had to ask the question.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're
Can
standard.
I ask a question about the color of the monument sign? are we talking about the color, the background color being the color of the sign that's on the building? Or are we talking about reversing it and having a white background with the red lettering?
We're having,
I guess I'm,
what we're talking about is having the lettering match the wall sign.
okay, the
And then
lettering match.
a background
Yes.
that they decide upon,
But
that comes back.
then we've added one more color. I mean, let's determine the
No.
color here. I mean, because then we're losing consistency again.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Well, if you make
I'm-
it all white with the red, I don't know. I just think that that's not going to look very appealing.
I don't know how
Yeah, I
it would
think I
look
know
on
where
there.
you're coming from too. I mean, would you make it like a white background, a brown background? If you put the background that's on the post, I don't know. I think you do have a point there. If we're gonna try to come to some kind of consistency, I'm not sure how we get there. Or we
Well-
let the sign guy handle that.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
table it, and we ask them to come up with a creative background.
Yep, that's fine.
That's what I'm looking for on the sign.
Jim, the only comment that I'd like to add, though, is that while I'd like the font of the Laundry World sign to match that on the building, I don't think the other tenants need to have that
Oh, no.
same
Right,
font. They can have something that might match their signs.
exactly, yes. I would agree. And then, as far as the calipers of the tree, which is, I think, the last thing, extremely disappointed that it does not match what we've put in there, what we've asked for. We get this all the time. When were those trees planted?
In April.
So, 2 months ago.
Jim?
Yes.
When you're done, I have a question.
I'm of the opinion to say, make sure they're 3 inches or larger, but I will ask consensus on that. Commissioner Powers?
I would agree, and I would hope that when I just don't know if how it was communicated. I mean, we had the plan that said 3. When the trees were actually ordered, did we say they have to be at least 3, or we took whatever was there? I don't know, somehow
We're
that
not,
wasn't communicated somehow.
there's not a we yet on the discussion of the trees. We have not gone through the landscaping and done full inspections of everything.
Oh, okay.
The certificate of occupancy has not been finalized on this.
How could they be
They're
running if it?
operating, they have a business license, and the building work is on a temporary CO that has expired.
Holy cow.
Okay.
So we are
Okay, then
we're
I-
at the point of finalizing all of the certificate of occupancy issues, landscaping.
I would like to see
modification.
the 3-inch calipers on the trees.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, I think they should meet our guidelines.
Commissioner Dorban?
Are you suggesting that those trees be removed and replaced?
That's what we would suggest.
Okay, I have another option.
Okay.
Okay, let's leave the trees that are there and ask for more trees. There's the trade-off.
Where would you do that, on Dundee? I mean, on Schoenbeck?
Well, if you look at
Well, they're
the,
missing a tree on Schoenbeck already.
right, so let's add 2 trees. Or let's add another one.
Where?
Let's
I don't
add
know.
another one.
I'm
I
not
don't think you
certain,
have the space to do that.
I'm not certain they can add another tree.
I mean, it appears to me that on Schoenbeck, appears to be enough room that 2 could be added.
I agree with that. There appears to be plenty of room on the Schoenbeck side.
I would agree
There's
the
the trade.
Schoenbeck side, but probably not the Dundee
I
side.
mean, I think that you have healthy trees.
Where's the
I'm not opposed to saying meet the code, but in this case, they're already in. There's the option of giving us 2 trees at 3+ caliper and leave the trees that are there. And with the caveat that if something happens to any of those trees that have been planted, that they be replaced with 3-inch caliper.
Are there power lines running above those trees? that we're going to be hacking up in a few years?
It looks like it.
It appears to be in the parkway going down Schoenbeck.
Parkway, but these wouldn't be in the parkway, right? Or would they?
No, these are on site.
Inside that.
If we were going to add one already, obviously. it's not-
Commissioner Dorban, I think that's a great idea. To add 2 more trees with 3-inch caliper. How about that, Commissioner Powers? Instead of replacing healthy trees.
I guess that would be okay.
Commissioner Johnson?
If they had the space to do it, yeah.
I think they do. Commissioner Dorban, we have yours. Commissioner Zangara?
I agree.
Commissioner Steinle?
Yeah, the Dundee Road does not have telephone poles, and,
Yeah, but I think I think
Schoenbeck.
we're
We're
thinking about
talking
putting them on Schoenbeck.
and I would like to see a couple new trees on
Yeah,
Schoenbeck.
okay, so would I. So, Mr. Jennings, what do we have for the petitioner, if you could just,
So we have 2 separate dockets. One of them is the site plan and appearance approval.
which I think we'll vote on to.
And then you've got the sign. So the site plan and appearance approval, the conditions that I've jotted down so far, number 1, the landscaping is completed per plan unless specific changes are requested through the village staff. Number 2, the existing trees can remain provided that 2 additional trees meeting the minimum size requirements are added.
Can we add the caveat also that if something were to happen, that the trees that were put in, that they be replaced, or shall be replaced with 3-inch caliber?
I mean, we can. I think that any tree that would be replaced would be replaced, whatever the plan was at that point. I can try to come up with some quick condition that would say something like that.
And the new trees would be 3-inch caliper?
Yes. Yes.
And then if we haven't gone like the site plan, I mean, if we're going to actually put those trees in, that those be included in the site plan too, or some kind of revised site plan.
We'll have to go out and look at
That's
the
fine.
locations with them, and we can mark it up with them. We'll see if
Okay.
it's best to pick a species from what they already have, or if there's, we try to plant all of the exact same type of tree. So if the 3 that are in are elms, we'll work with them to try to find something that's not an elm. And we have a list of trees that are preferred that tend to thrive around here. So that's the first one. You want to move on to the sign before you do anything else? Or do you want to take care of this motion?
Let's take care of this motion. Wait, I'm sorry.
Do you want to vote on this one before we talk about the sign conditions, or do you want to go on?
Sure, the site plan, right?
Just
so-
read those one more time real quick.
This is for PC 15-8, right?
Okay, this is the, yes, site plan appearance. Number 1, that the landscaping is completed per plan unless specific changes are requested through the village staff. Number 2, that the existing trees can remain provided that 2 additional trees meeting the minimum size requirements are added. Number 3, that any trees that do not survive are replaced in accordance with the approved plan. What I'd like to do is just add a 4th one, just as a reminder to all of us, to double check the handicap parking sign and the exit sign.
Right. What was the first condition again?
That the landscaping is completed per plan unless specific changes are requested through the village staff.
Okay. So do we have to put in there that you're going to go out there and do an inventory, or no?
Yeah, we'll arrange to meet
Okay,
out there
so-
with their landscaper.
So we have a motion for PC 15.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I'm sorry. How are these, all these trees and shrubbery being watered? Is there any irrigation system there?
No, but I do have a maintenance crew that goes out there and waters them.
Because I'd hate to see them, once you plant these
No, they're supposed
trees,
to water
I'd
them.
hate
We're
to see
very
them.
strict about that, about watering the trees.
Okay. Okay.
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powers, second by Commissioner Steinle. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Powers,
Yes.
Commissioner Steinle,
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband,
Yes?
Commissioner Johnson is yes, Commissioner Zangara,
Yes.
and Chairman Raffato.
Yes.
Who made and seconded that again, please?
Motion was made by Commissioner Powers and second by
Stylen.
Commissioner Stylen.
Motion to table.
Okay. And the other one is a motion to table, but the direction that we have right now, the notes that I have are that it would be tabled to address the above concerns. And those concerns are base of the sign is covered by base material to match the building, a raised bed or similar. Number 2, all sign landscaping is completed per plan unless specific changes are made. I guess because the plan is not yet approved, that's not relevant. So I'll take that one out. The address, that the address is added below the tenant panels. And
have a question.
that all 3 tenant panels have the same background color with the text of the main, the text of the large panel to match the wall sign.
Yes, you had a question?
The address, I'm confused. Do you want it on a panel or do you want it on the actual, over here?
Right, so right
And
below
what
where the-
material would you like it in?
I think the sign guy will be able to help you with that.
What?
The sign guy will be able to help.
Yeah, I
with-
just
with
wanted to
material.
see if there's
yeah,
a preference.
Yeah, it's probably just vinyl lettering that they put on there.
On the structure itself,
Yeah.
vinyl?
Probably, that is
I don't
probably
know
what
if
they use.
that's gonna work.
The wires.
Yeah.
So motion to table SCBA
So moved.
15-21.
Second.
Commissioner Dorban, second by Commissioner Powers. Roll call.
Commissioner Dorband?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson is yes. Commissioner Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara?
Yes.
And Chairman Rafato?
Yes. So you have something to sign? Thank you.
Thank
Hope to See
you.
you soon.
The PC docket's coming, I just have to retype something. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever find out who this was? Did you look at the tape? Just gonna leave it that way?
Which item is it?
I don't know. It's a facade, purple sprout.
Okay, hang on one second. Sign for Purple Sprout? I have made by Powers, seconded by Style.
Okay. You
Oh, to close.
Close the docket.
Yeah,
Not do that much for that.
that's in the findings of fact, too, the same way.
Let's just say Dorman.
Sure,
Wait, no, wait, Dorman did it.
yeah,
Darn, I gotta pick somebody else.
not me,
Johnson.
Johnson.
Johnson did it.
Yeah, Johnson did it. Thank you.
That's fast.
You got to change it in both documents, too.
Approval of minutes, May 28th, 2015.
Only one question about page 4, where it has Commissioner XXXX.
We've determined that that is
What do
Commissioner
we-
Johnson.
Pardon me?
Commissioner Johnson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has volunteered to take responsibility for that.
I'm taking the 4 X's.
All right, so moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And we have one abstain. Thank you. Other business, Mr. Jennings.
Thank you. I have a couple of updates. We had talked about this not too long ago, that the Plan Commission has some role in a couple of the items that relate to the strategic plan objectives. And as we make progress on these particular items, we like to come back to the Plan Commission, get some redirection. We have a couple that are at the point that could possibly need a recommendation on to the board. So we'd like to just spend a couple of minutes talking about them, see if you think that we're ready to make some type of recommendation. Again, these are projects. These are not dockets. The same item might come back to you after you send it to the board with their additional direction. So we're going to go through them briefly and see if you believe that they're ready to go ahead in some fashion to the board. We had talked at one of our actually, I think it was the last meeting in May, about the 14th, the May 14th meeting, about the neighborhood map. There are 2 projects related to this. One is just kind of coming up with a identification, a map to identify the neighborhoods. We have a source, a couple of sources that we put together to make this map. It's some of them relate to the subdivision, some of them relate to the projects. The project had a name itself, and that has become sort of the name. It isn't always necessarily the name written on the plat of subdivision. And some of these are police beats. The issue that we were trying to work through was how to best vet these names to see if there's any sort of common name. Some of these locations may have more than one name. People may use one name. And 10 years ago, they may have referred to it as something else. So we're trying to figure out how to vet the names. And then, as we discussed last time, there is some overlap with the 2 other projects, the streetscape project, where we're looking for small open spaces for the neighborhoods, as well as a signage project where we'd like to take neighborhoods that do have an identifiable name and work some sort of signage into the streetscape. After we met with the public works staff to talk about how to implement the signage project, we started the process of taking this map and dividing it up and sort of classifying these different locations. Places that have a sign already and there's some sort of on-site management that can take care of that sign. We looked at single-family neighborhoods that have no common property management system. We looked at signs that have we looked at neighborhoods that have some sort of directional sign, but it's not necessarily a identification sign. It's Denoyer Trail there's 3 signs on it that kind of point you up the street to the neighborhoods. The Kingsport is up the street. So there's a couple of locations that we have like that. So as we started going through that, we found that many of the developments are standalone developments. They're a handful of buildings. They're not necessarily a neighborhood. They're maybe within a neighborhood that does or does not have an identity or a common name, but the development itself is not necessarily a neighborhood. So we ended up, if we kept following that out, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 or 90 potential locations to name. And most of which you would never identify as being a neighborhood. So we started to look at a different approach. And that is kind of where we are now. There were a handful of names that I think, if you look back historically, there may be some general agreement that these locations have an identifiable name. Meadowbrook, Old Town, East Strong, West Strong, Dunhurst, and Hollywood Ridge. We felt, and talking to a lot of the staff, people who've been around, we took an informal poll. These were the places that were most likely to have, you'd have agreement that these neighborhoods have an identity. Crossroads is a little bit of a stretch. I threw that one in. Just because we've named so many, the TIF district is named after that, and so many different documents we've had have referred to it. But the other ones, there was generally agreement that these neighborhoods have some type of identity and would lend themselves to possibly piloting a signage program. And we're working with Public Works on how to come up with a sign. I'll show you in a second here, actually. Our recommendation was to try to find some type of street sign add-on. So when you come to the intersection of the major street that intersects with the collector streets that take you into the neighborhoods, you would identify at the point of that collector street intersecting, this is Dunhurst, this is Meadowbrook, and you'd have some type of topper type of tag to identify it. And there are several reasons that we were leaning toward this. One was just the number of signs that would otherwise have to be located, easements. We started worrying about sign clutter. There may be still some opportunities for individual locations to have a different type of standalone sign. We thought that this was a good way to sort of pilot this and implement it in a way that we felt we could probably pay for it and physically get it done. So the question then is with the map. Our suggestion coming out of our staff meeting on this was originally to look at the 80 or 90 or so. After we got into that and realized how many it was going to be, this was the planning division thought was to take these few and let either by placing this at a handful of public places, let people put a suggestion box, this is my intersection, I identify myself as this, get some feedback in some way. Put it on the website, let people click on a link that emails us and says, disagree. So we don't know how else to vet this. And one thing that you could do with that is if there's generally agreement about the first 7 or so that do have a strong identity already, maybe we pilot the signs with that, and then in the next year or so, let people provide some feedback about how they feel about the names. The rest of these names, many of them are just made up. I made them up looking at geographic features. A few of them are legitimate. They are related to something that is real. The Palwaukee Business Center is an actual industrial subdivision down there, and some of them have historic reference to the subdivision. Trying to think of some of them are just completely made up. North Creek, a series of locations that are north of the creek. West Town is on the west side of town.
Thank goodness it's not on the east side of town.
Wildcat Ridge, is that?
Wildcat Ridge is near the high school. West Town probably could go with Arlington Club. The Arlington, you've got that by itself is probably large enough that you could identify.
So you're looking for a consensus from us as to do a pilot with these areas with some signage that you suggested.
Yes.
Topper.
So, right, it's, the sign program is really the Public Works project. We just happen to have a public meeting where we can get some feedback,
Okay.
and help them
Sure.
to send it on. It's very much related to this because the names on the signs would be these names. So they can't really take their step. They can guess at how many signs to order, to try to get an estimate, because they want to show the board before anybody orders anything.
Sure.
They want to show the board that this is a $20,000 project, a $50,000 project, whatever it is.
Feedback, anyone?
Yeah, again, you're talking about like just the entry off of whatever Main Street leads into that,
Essentially, the existing street signs would have
but not all the signs within the subdivision.
maybe a few. If there are critical intersections inside the subdivision, maybe we'd do a few.
Berkshire Drive is very critical, so.
So it would be something to this effect. We're working with them on it now. You know, it would probably work perhaps the wheel into all of them. And then,
Comments, anyone?
I did too.
When I first heard about it, I wasn't so sure. I like the idea, but when I look at some of the signs, the way they look, I'm kind of warming up to the idea.
Yeah, okay.
I think it'd be a nice way to even identify an area, like if somebody had an issue, well, it's over here, and if these names got known more, I mean, it may be an easier way of identifying a part of the village with a common name, and you know approximately where they're talking about. So I think it's a good idea.
Now, in a case like Harmony Village, they already have signs, don't they? And you've got them absorbed into Meadowbrook.
sure, there are certainly going to be some places like that. I mean, some development, like Arlington Club, for example, and Village Green, you know, between the two of them, maybe Arlington Club, I don't know for sure if Village Green identifies itself as being part of Arlington Club. I just don't know. So, you know, if we put, you know, that's probably a good one to just go ahead and change it and put Arlington Club on the map and see if we get much pushback from the people on the Village Green side.
Commissioner Stalin?
I don't know, you want to comment if something like this is important enough to be on our strategic plan, and this is the top priority item of our strategic plan?
No.
I don't know, I'm not sold. I think anybody that's in town that is aware of where they live, whether it be Eastchester or Ridgefield or whatever, or Kingsport, they know where they live.
I think there was a direction from,
And
board.
if you're going to put signs that now start saying that Ridgefield really isn't Ridgefield, it's something else, somebody place, and Kingsport is really Wildcat Ridge, I think that is going to goof up a lot of people, and personally, I don't think people are going to like it. You know, I'd much rather have a Village of Wheeling sign, I hate to say it, like Buffalo Grove and Mount Prospect, that has their logo on all their village signs, you know, because we're all Wheeling. Interesting. You know, and I don't know that if you're going to start changing the names that people commonly refer to themselves as, I think we're just, from a strategic standpoint, causing problems.
Why can't we keep the ones that people commonly know?
Well, I
Why
mean,
can't we
it's
keep
like
them?
Brookville, you going to call that North Side?
Well,
No, it's
the thing
McHenry
is,
Farms.
I guess
Yeah,
it makes
whatever.
it just sets us apart from somebody else. It makes us a little different. So, I mean, if you're going to put Brookvale, like you used, but you're going to put McHenry Farms, I just think it gives us a little edge. It's a little different.
Commissioner
And
Sang, I agree.
You know,
Commissioner
I-
Zangaro? Any comments?
Well, I can't, well, especially like, you know, Dundee Road here, if you do town center, you know, I've seen like, I don't know, downtown Arlington Heights, they have the banners on the street poles that say, welcome, you know. So I like the identification, and especially some of the major areas that kind of, you know you're in Wheeling, but especially like our big roads here, Dundee, I mean, people are coming down, they hit town center, they're gonna know, hey, we're in town center. I'd like the idea.
I like the idea too.
But I understand what Terry's saying.
Yep.
You know, if an area is used to being called something, don't change that. Don't mess with that. Leave it alone. But other areas that really have not been noted as a specific area. I mean, when you think about Hollywood Ridge, I mean, everybody knows where Hollywood Ridge is.
But
You
actually,
you wouldn't change the name of that one.
There's a second name there too, Highland Glen,
I think Glenn.
which has just kind of disappeared over the.
Highland Glen.
Highland Glen, which I believe is actually the lower part of.
And I believe Hollywood Ridge extends south of Dundee as well.
I don't think so.
Norm lives, I believe, in Hollywood Ridge.
Oh, where he's got Westbrook Farms?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So there's a couple of different ways to approach this. I think, clearly because it's in the strategic plan, coming up with a neighborhood map was something that the board would like some input on. A couple of different ways, just listening to the comments, a couple of different ways to do this. I have the neighborhood map, the red one is still there. We still have that.
Yeah.
They can certainly see what the staff thought process was in this. And we're certainly not trying to dictate names to anybody. One thing we can do with this is just wipe all the names off of it, except for the names that we know. We can start with, look, we think we know these handful. You can pilot the program, and then in the future, maybe one option is neighborhoods can sort of petition the board, look, we'd like to be identified, here's our name.
I think this is a good start. And if it's part of the strategic plan and the board is looking for some type of something, some action here.
Sure.
Let's give it to them. That's what I would do.
So how to proceed then, with the idea of starting with the handful that we know and?
I think that'd be a good idea. I mean, why would you want to do the whole city, the village? You don't want to.
In the map itself, how would you like the map to be presented to them?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
There's 30 locations on this map right now.
The black boxes?
The black boxes.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's like 90 or something, right?
It's about 90 or so, maybe more.
So the black is consolidation of
The black is more broken up by major geographic features. So railroad tracks, creeks, major streets, residential versus industrial. So anywhere where you have a boundary that is more perceptible, that's really what that came from. Some of these neighborhoods don't physically connect to one another, so they'll be back to back where there's no street even necessarily.
I think you could combine West Strong and East Strong in one name, probably
And I
not Strong.
thought of the
but-
signs for that. I thought it sounded funny, so I left East and West. Just thought having a bunch of signs that said strong.
East.
Well, come up with another name, make up another name.
Since I'm in that business. Strong Town.
I'm still confused
Strong
about how to
Ridge.
present this. I would present it as you're doing it.
Yeah, ask if they want the grouped boxes in the black, or go back to the red. Yeah, but
Or you could start out with basically the town center, because that's a big focus right now. Here's how we broke up town center, and then we've brought it further as into more, we kind of divided the rest of this areas. Start with a focal point and then work your way out.
Yeah.
So generally, the idea of having a pilot program of coming up with signs for the
Yes.
ones that we know, that's fine. And then the idea, I think one way or another, we have to figure out how to vet the neighborhood map. I think Generally, I personally don't consider standalone developments to be neighborhoods. If they get large enough, sure, absolutely they can be. But I view many of these to be parts of neighborhoods. They combine to be neighborhoods together, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. That's, I think, why we need to have this vetted, and see and get some feedback. So fine with that one then?
Yes.
And the signage, no
Yes.
particular issues with how the Public
Yes.
Works Department's proceeding on that? So the next one we have is the Facade Improvement Grant Program, and I have a handout for that one.
Wow, handout?
Ooh, handout.
Is there a quiz after this?
Parting gift.
Wow.
So the task here from the strategic plan is to review the effectiveness of the Facade Improvement Grant Program. You have a memo in your packet that gives you some of the statistics of it. The other half of it is what we're trying to get into now. And one of the things that we can do, and we're certainly open to suggestion on this, what we have here is a spreadsheet of all the things that you're going to see photographs of. One of the concerns that we had in just speaking about it, we didn't want to substitute any sort of aesthetic judgment for the groups. We didn't want to fill it in. But there are some more objective criteria. So we've done most of the ones that we consider to be objective. The business has stayed or it hasn't. There have been 4 or 5 tenants after that tenant. We wanted to make sure that we could fill in as much as we could. So what we thought, in order to facilitate the discussion here, is we would get photographs, the before and after. In some cases, it's before, after, and current, because there's continued changes. But sort of get the before and after, show you the cost, talk about it a little bit. The dark line that you see is the time at which the program changed to allow additional types of work. So as long as there was an aesthetic component, the grant program was expanded a little bit to allow non-aesthetic items to be part of it. The one example that comes to mind, some parking lot repair could be added to it. You could have what you might consider to be a maintenance type of issue could be added to it. And those maintenance items certainly could have an aesthetic impact themselves. Some of them didn't. One was a grease trap. It does have it was sort of a project that doesn't have a natural place in a large redevelopment agreement type of sense because it's so small, but it was not a facade grant, but it also makes a big difference to a restaurant as to whether or not they can locate in a given spot. So the program was changed at that point. You see sort of the before and after. And what the board is looking for on this is the Plan Commission's assessment as to whether or not this program is effective as is, leave it alone. Are there modifications that should be considered? Is the program, should it shrink, should it expand, should it change, or just status quo is fine. So what we've got here then, the form that we've given you, you see the more objective side of it and you see the somewhat subjective side of it. If the commission is not comfortable going through these and talking about it, you can kind of take notes on it, and we can take it sort of like a survey, and we can compile it so that you don't have to necessarily say that I think that was a huge waste of money. And you don't have to individually say that I think that was the worst project we've ever done with this program. Otherwise, if you're fine talking about it, that's fine too. We just thought that there might be a concern about, many of these businesses are in operation, and you might want the opportunity to just write down some notes about it, and we can compile all of them and then give them back to you as a whole collection if you'd like. So I don't know how you'd like to proceed, but we have all the photographs here. We can talk about it. If you can't see it on your screen, we can stop and go back or whatever. Sound good?
Yes, just go through them.
I do have, Andrew, can you briefly state if you think you've already done it, but I'd like to know what you think the original intent of the facade improvement program was and what the objective was.
Well,
That we can then relate to.
I mean, the objective was to encourage reinvestment in the built environment around the major corridors. It was specifically approved for the TIF districts, and those TIF districts at the time were concentrated around the Milwaukee and Dundee area, and on down Dundee Road to the west, and then further down south along Milwaukee. So that was the main focus of it, were the existing commercial areas, and encourage the tenants and the property owners to invest in aesthetic improvements and improve the overall character of the area, the visual character of the area. It does have an economic development component, which is why the money comes from the TIF district itself. The idea being that the investment encourages other investment, it encourages pride in the location, makes it more likely that a small business can succeed because A, they look better, and B, they're not putting so much of their own startup money into their building owners' aesthetic improvement. So just generally speaking, the idea was to improve the visual quality around the TIF.
So if I could just give an example, if you took a very blighted piece of property and turned it into a gemstone, that would be a very successful implementation. But if you took a property that was pretty well developed and just gave it a new paint job or something, you might have spent a lot of money, but you just gave it a paint job, then that might not have been as successful and upgraded. Would that be what you're looking for? Some kind of rating?
Yeah, not necessarily a rating. A lot of this is going to be, like I said, pretty subjective stuff. It's hard to say when the economy goes south halfway through this period that we're reviewing, it's hard to say how much this helped. What if, it's hard to know, maybe the investment in this one prevented another tenant from leaving, and the shopping center as a whole maintained more tenants throughout that whole period. So some of it is a little bit subjective.
You have this in a spreadsheet,
I do, I have it in Excel.
so you can send it to us?
I could send it and you can type in and send it back if you'd like.
Let's start going through these.
Okay, so the first one we had was in 2007. Turnkey IT replaced a standing seam metal canopy that had been damaged. I believe they said at the time a UPS truck backed into it. Let's not identify them. Some truck backed into it. And they had to replace it, and when they replaced it, they wanted to upgrade it, and they went to copper. And that is the copper. That's how it ages. So it's on the right, you see the existing conditions there. That was taken last week. Any questions on this one? And if you have any notes that you want to make now and I'm moving too fast, feel free to stop me.
You're not moving too fast.
Okay, that one's still there. Okay. This sign, I did note here that this sign has been replaced since it was installed, and the landscaping around it was later absorbed into a different project. So this is now not, the electricity, the base, everything was reused, but this particular sign does not exist. Any questions? Moving on.
Back on that one,
Yes.
the grant money though was to construct that sign.
That
They just
sign.
redid.
The electric, the base, the sign, et cetera. So portions of that got reused.
Right.
But the sign structure itself is not there.
Okay, thanks.
So one more question, when you do the grant, how much do you actually, does the petitioner file with the village and say, I want to use the facade grant and I'm applying for this amount of money, and then somebody goes through a review and say, okay, we can't give you all of that, we'll give you this? Is that basically how it works?
Yes.
Okay.
There's most of these follow the same sort of parallel track. There's a plan commission appearance review of some type, be it a sign, site plan, appearance change. So that's done, and then parallel to that, there's a staff committee that reviews the financials. So they'll get an estimate, maybe 3 estimates for the work. We'll go through it, we'll say this doesn't seem like good bang for your buck, or hey, that part of it doesn't seem eligible for the program. We'll come up with a dollar amount that we recommend to the board. We send both things, our recommendation of the dollar amount and your approval of the change. Board reviews it, there's a resolution, they do the work, we collect the receipts and make sure everything adds up.
Thanks.
That is how it looks today. Much of the work that you see here was done with a different program, was not part of the facade improvement grant program. Moving on, sorry.
So on turnkey, there's 2 entries here. Sign replacement, the 1, 2, 3, 4th one down, sign replacement. So was that the previous picture, or was this new turnkey part of the new sign replacement?
So the base here and the structure for it were part of it.
From the previous
From the
sign,
previous, I believe
From the
they were able
grant.
to reuse some of it.
from the grant?
Right.
The first one, the $8,000 grant.
Yes.
Okay, then did we give them another?
We did not give them another, we did not, the facade grant program did not give them another grant. They did receive an award of additional TIF funding through a full redevelopment agreement.
So I don't understand what this 4th entry is here then.
Yeah.
The first one was the canopy,
Yeah,
and the second,
oh, the second one was that one.
This sign.
Got it, okay,
right, and then that last picture, I was just showing you what it looks like today.
okay, fine.
Sorry. That's probably the most confusing one we have. This is the before and after 765 West Dundee. And then we have how it looks today. And we did note that 2 of the units have had a series of tenants in them and have not maintained. They were able to lease it up originally, but 2 out of the 3 units have not been able to hold a tenant for a significant period of time. Moving on.
Yep.
Colsack Funeral Home, that's the before and after. That photograph is actually not from 1950. That was right before they did the work. Something about, I think it was snowing when I took it. It looks bad. And it's in color, that's color.
Yeah, it's winter.
I know where the existing sign is now, though.
You know a guy? Mm-hmm. Where is it?
6 feet underground.
Is it really?
They put the sign on top of the.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
I'll be in the wheeling trivia game. That is interesting. That is how it looks today. So it does look fairly similar to the picture from when it was first done. Goodyear Checkpoint. This one, most of these items were considered to be maintenance items. They did get new doors, which you can't see in this photograph because they're up at this particular moment. They got new doors. The facade was repaired and painted, and they got a new sign panel. But this one, I don't believe, had any sort of appearance review for it because it was all considered to be maintenance. This may be the only one that, I think this is the only one that has no appearance approval associated with it.
But it's also the cheapest one.
So that's the before and after?
If you squint, that's what the before looked like. It looked kind of blurry and gritty. But the doors definitely got improved. They did, scrape, patch, paint all the facade.
Okay, sure.
The doors were their big expense. Cinco de Mayo, the before and after. The before in this case was sort of a during.
Yes, we remember.
And that is the after. In this case, the grant, in hindsight, I think the grant was really used as an incentive to come back and make some modifications. It softened the blow of having to go back and make some changes. And here's how this appears today. Now, there have been several tenants and several different owners, actually. The building did sell at least once. The building sold at least once, and there have been 3 restaurants since then. But it has not, to my recollection, it's not been vacant for long.
No?
No,
Never more than a couple of months.
no, because Arturo's started using their name before they took the other sign down. They were in business for quite a while.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Northfield Group.
What happened to Bob Chin's?
There's no, did I totally skip it? There's no photograph of the work that they
You
did.
have to imagine it?
It's Imagine Bob Chin's in the winter.
So it's gray.
The grant, the
was the
grant
color?
was completely for the windscreen. You know, the tan windscreen that comes up in the winter. I looked around, I don't have a picture of it.
And that's all they did with that money?
That was what they did with that money. Where's the dollar amount? Let me just double check, because the
10,000.
part of that may have been their, they had to put a sprinkler in the area.
Okay,
May
they
have been.
closed
I would
it.
have to double check that to be totally sure.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
because they closed it, so then they had to,
Actually, you know what? It's before the line, so it wouldn't have been, the sprinkler wouldn't have been part of that. So the enclosure itself must have been 20,000, and we reimbursed 50%. Northfield Group this was Bill's, correct? Bill's Auto Body?
Yep.
They did the paving work, they added the landscape island there, they made a more formal parking lot, the facade work, et cetera. The Northfield Group has just vacated this space, but that is how it looks.
Oh, they did?
Yes, it is currently for lease or sale.
Isn't that where the choo-choo is gonna go?
Yes. Yeah.
bring back the caboose.
Where was that gonna go? It's gonna go next door, wasn't it?
No, I thought it was going there. Oh, no, you're right.
Country Dog,
Country Dog, yeah.
good times. Future Automotive is one of the only ones that's off the beaten path. The sign area on the right is what they added. They also added, you can kind of see it back here, this trash enclosure here covers this dumpster area. At this time, there was a house that obscured your view of their dumpster. They tore the house down and you could see the dumpster, so they put the enclosure up. Moving on. This is a little bit difficult to see in this photograph. This screen on 212 South Milwaukee obscures the view of the rooftop mechanical units here. Any questions on this one? D'Agostino's, the former Hackney's. This had received its appearance approval, and they were, let me see, I believe they actually knew that they were taking down the old mansard roof. So this is the new, what you're seeing here isn't the roof you're seeing after they demolished the roof, but this is the closest we could get to a before and after on this one. While we have this one up, I think this is sort of, there are a handful of the ones that hit the max amount, the $50,000 amount. Most of the ones that hit the $50,000 amount that you see on here, the grant was not a substantial portion of what this cost, and it's hard to know exactly what impact it had, but for some of these projects, it was a $200,000, $300,000 project. I'm trying to move on.
Cool.
Yep, there we go. Stasek Chevrolet. It's a little bit difficult to see in this photograph, but this is all a new metal panel system. They put up the iconic Chevrolet arch.
So since we're here,
Yes.
those barrels, right in front there, right in front of that Corvette on the right side?
Are you talking about the light pole covers?
Yeah, the light pole covers? They're getting to look pretty sad.
That's funny, like you say that, 'cause I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah, they're falling apart, they're faded, they look terrible. But irrespective of that, I think the building looks great.
Wasn't this the case where GM told Stasek they have to do this?
Yes,
This was a mandate.
right.
A mandate. to
And
the
they
dealers.
don't help him do that?
My recollection was they do not. They do not help them do that. They mandate that they have to do it. They do let them sell the cars, though. No, it was described to us at the time as
Yep.
a required facade improvement. Ready?
Yep.
The Ace Hardware Advanced Auto Building. Not pictured here is the landscaping that went along the front. There's landscaping that came in off to your right. So this was a facade reconstruction, storefront windows, landscaping, parking lot work, rooftop screens, et cetera, et cetera. Moving on?
Moving on up.
Moving on. DECA, this is probably one of the most recent ones. The work that they did was they added the new entry feature. The patio area was added. They added the covered, the retractable awnings over there had been some patio seating out there, but they created a new patio and put a cover over the old seating area. Questions on this one? Route 21 car wash. You have a major facade reconstruction, landscaping, signage, et cetera. Vacuums. We do have another one on here that's approved. They have not done the work yet. So I didn't think it was fair to put them in there. The shopping center with the Napa in it.
Yep.
Hakimi Shopping Center, is that the one?
The one
That's the owner's name.
that's grayed out on our printout here.
So, what I guess the question is do you want to do this as a second meeting, come back in a month and compile any notes?
I got notes for you right here, buddy.
So we can compile it. Is there a sense, just generally without speaking about any of the specific ones if you don't want to, is there a sense from the commission that the program is effective, ineffective, keep it exactly as is, modify in some way? Any comments at all that I can take back?
I definitely think it's effective. I mean, most of the stuff I've seen, it's definitely improvement, aesthetically improving, improvement.
I agree. For the most part, it seems to be helping.
Right. Commissioner Dorban?
Well, I think it looks, all of them are an improvement, but the one piece I have a problem with is Arturo's or Cinco de Mayo. The grease trap, I mean, what has that got to do with the facade?
I think the idea there was that there are occasionally barriers to renting a space. A shopping center owner can't put somebody in a space because they don't have the rent coming in to pay for improvements to that space. It gets to be sort of a catch-22. And the idea, when we proposed that change to allow, as long as you're doing a facade or aesthetic project of a certain size, some portion of that can go to something that is not. So the idea was to try to encourage people. In that case, I would say yes, there's been turnover there, but had there not been a grease trap, after that point, it would have, the first one might not have even gone in. So it's possible that it would have been a vacant Arby's for quite some time, had that not been there.
Was
It's hard to
this-
say, but
Is this grease trap something new in the code?
new
Because it's
enough,
always
Arby's
been a
was
restaurant.
1979, so it was newer than that.
Yeah, it was Henry's restaurant before that.
Henry's before that.
And the other thing, I guess.
they were greasy.
Maybe it's just me, but on the Northfield group, it seems to me that that was an awful lot of money, and I didn't see that it was such a great facade improvement.
Especially long-term. It just-
Right.
Yeah, I just rated them good, excellent, fair, and I thought that one was fair. I think, yeah, just, Commissioner Stana?
I guess, though, there are some other intangibles, right, like Arturo's. It probably would have remained vacant for a long time because it would have been a lot more difficult for a restaurant to move in there. So for a restaurant, for that particular restaurant use to get a tenant in there might have been a good push to try and do that. But I guess my other comment is a business that is well endowed, makes a lot of money in town and whatever, would we have been better off given a large amount of money to some other business that, really could have benefited from it? And, the rules for, is it a 50-50 split or something like that?
50/50, but there's a cap, there's a dollar amount cap to it.
I really think that there are some businesses in town, even with a 50-50 split, probably can't afford to upgrade their building. And maybe it might be better for some dilapidated buildings to change that percentage from 50-50 to 20-80 or something, just to raise the standard in town,
So 2080 on a smaller project, you mean? Or
Yeah.
2080 on the same maximum?
like that, the grocery store that was done down on 83 and, not 83.
Wolf.
Dundee and, right next to the liquor store.
Freshman?
The Shell
Oh, the-
station down, it's not a Shell anymore.
What liquor store?
Huh?
You talking about
Bell?
B&L?
Yeah, the place right next to B&L.
Is that like Chital Grocery or something?
Yeah, that grocery store, and now there's a kind of dilapidated one that's left in that center.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It'd be nice to give them whatever it took to bring that center up to speed. And I'm sure they can't afford 50-50. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Can I make another comment?
no.
As far as the facade grants go, do the owners of the properties where they're eligible for facade grants, do they know that there's a possibility that they could get a facade grant and for what reason? I know that there's only so much money that can go around, but maybe if everybody knew, if they don't already know that it was a possibility, maybe that would energize a few people to make some changes. I don't know.
We do tell people about it pretty regularly, and we do, I don't know that we've done a mass mailing. We have, I don't think we've done one recently, though. We could certainly, there's only a handful of locations. We could probably do it again if we needed to.
The only one that I really had an issue with on this is Bob Chin's.
Which one?
Bob Chin's.
Oh,
I didn't think that would be a good, I didn't think that was a good use of the funds.
No, I would have to agree. I mean, it wasn't a terrible lot of money, but it's not very eye-appealing.
Right. Yeah, it didn't aesthetically add anything. And it was just for their benefit. There was no facade, improvements.
Andrew, what other kinds of things, I mean, we talked about the grease trap, but what other kinds of things would fall into that category of improvements? And then if that's the case, maybe we need to change what it says, instead of it being the facade improvement, say facade/improvement plan.
It is now called, the name of it on the application is now the Facade and Building Improvement Grant
Oh,
Program.
okay. So what other kinds of things would fall into there?
I don't know if we have a comprehensive list, but we've had people do some parking lot work with it. We've had some general maintenance, some exterior maintenance work has been done with it. I'm trying to think of what else we've
Have
had.
we have it anything like a landscape? Has somebody come up with landscape other than IT? I mean, Turnkey did some things outside, but have there
They
been
did, that was
anybody
a
else?
different program. Their landscaping was part of their parking lot project, which was done as a full TIF project.
So but is that a possibility of doing a landscape?
It is, we've had several landscape, several. We consider the landscaping, we consider the
Yeah,
landscaping
well,
to be,
that was part of the approval.
so we consider the landscaping to be an aesthetic improvement. We favor, in the staff review of those, we favor what we view to be more permanent landscape changes.
Okay.
So they've created new beds, they've added a whole planter area, a raised bed, that sort of thing. So when we've discouraged the use of that funding for things like tree trimming, and we haven't done any awards for what we view to be making up for somebody's negligence on their landscaping.
Andrew, are there any projects that you can say wouldn't have been done, like Hackney's and DiAgostino's, that wouldn't have been done if the facade improvement grant hadn't helped them out? Are there any things like that?
And
There's a
and the
few that
other
are
one,
tough.
too, would be the Route 21 car wash.
There's a few that I think maybe they wouldn't have gotten done. The Consolidated Consulting Engineers rooftop screen, not much incentive to go back and do something like that for an existing building. There are certainly some. DECA, I think, probably would have been a very different project had
Ace
they.
Hardware, probably similar?
They probably would have done it, but maybe they wouldn't have done it as well. I think that's probably where you get into it, is some of these, knowing the program is out there, maybe they went a little bit farther than they would have gone.
Is that taken into consideration
Future
at all?
Automotive probably would not have done their project, not nearly to the degree that they did it.
Is that taken into consideration at all if, client comes in and this is what they're proposing, and then you say, we've got some extra money that you could make it a step better?
Sure, we tell people that.
And that probably pays off pretty good, right?
It does. It does. I think that, it's hard to measure exactly. We don't take people's bank statements. So to some extent, you're kind of trusting that they have a need for it. But that hasn't, in some years, we've had very few of these, and that judgment hasn't really factored into it. It's, this is making this project better, therefore, we'll recommend it.
Commissioner Zangara, did you have anything to?
I think it's good, because what I see with the 50/50 is when you notice some of these things, it seems like then the owner, whatever, they even go further. So even though we're giving them half, they're spending half, but I think then they up their standards even more. So I think it's,
So
Really good.
with this spreadsheet, what are you looking for?
I think we're looking for some feedback, comments, under the blank things. Do you feel like, you can even write some notes on the bottom. I've taken some notes here of some of the ideas. I'll compile
I
it.
think the general consensus is that it's a good program to continue on. I also heard, and you can let the comments come back and we can discuss them later, but also heard that maybe, there were some questions, but I think Commissioner Dorban had hers answered about the grease pit, but maybe, and I don't know if you can do this, a little bit more rigor around what we're doing, something like Chins, they had a screen so they can have people come in. Now, they'll say, well, they might have gone somewhere else if they had to wait outside in the cold. But then again, they could have gone right down the street to another wheeling place. And so just things like that. I'm not sure if that more rigor is needed, but I would think that the consensus that I heard here is that it's a good program. And hopefully the comments that you get back will reflect that.
And I think for me too, facade to me is like the building, but I was kind of surprised to hear that you're using it for landscaping and parking lots and stuff like that. I mean, it's the first I've ever heard of it, so I think that's good. I'm just saying, if maybe you need to do another mailing or something, so, maybe it triggers somebody to, hey, look into a grant, and then like Paul said, maybe they kick in some more money and do a little bit more improvement. I don't know. I just think it's a good idea.
Does the village approach businesses that could use a facelift? I mean, aggressively?
We have, I don't know if it's twice as many, but probably twice as many that we've suggested it to that haven't done it, than have actually done it. We've certainly, dangled it out there in front of more than a few businesses. Yes, we've had some that we've told about it and just did the work anyway and didn't do it. We've had, some just.
They're still waiting for you to drop off your share of the check.
I think it's the other side of, I went farther. Some people don't want to go farther. They don't want to be pushed to do it. Thank you very much. I will do my project the way I want to do my project. I don't want to feel like I owe.
Beholden, right. Yeah, that's true. Smaller government. So. Anything else?
Good for me.
Great, thank you. Good update on everything.
And you're going to send the.
It's in the Excel sheet around, and then we
I
can.
gave you my updates because I'm not going to be here.
Okay.
Other business. Commissioner Steinle.
The only thing that I'd like to comment on is, it was really interesting, the sign for Laundry World today in the packet itself. When I printed it out, one of the pictures printed out with a burgundy background, and another picture of the proposed sign, I think it came from the sign guy because it had sizes and stuff around it, was a completely different bright reddish color. What I would like to do is have, I think Pantone has a standard, more or less international color numbering system that most every color can map within a 95% confidence level to. Would it be possible to get, a Pantone color number? Because,
That's a good point.
the sign, I think, the sign guy quoted 7557, 2793 for the wall sign color, and the monument sign was just red. So, if we had some consistency in a color standard.
I think one of the issues that we have in adding a fairly technical requirement is that it's really difficult to get some people to do any. This was a really long process for us just to get them to where they were, and it was not easy. They're not hiring. Some people don't hire sign companies. Some people hire one sign company to do drawings, and then they switch to do the work. So it's not easy to implement something like that. I mean, it certainly would be helpful. I'd like to see it.
I mean,
But I
why-
mean,
but
most
why-
reputable sign companies, I would believe, have a standardized color numbering
And what,
system.
and what difference does it make if you have one sign company draw it and the other guy build it? I mean,
Well, I mean, that,
if you're building it,
you know, maybe it's, one sign company is a guy who works out of his basement. And the next guy is Signs Are Us. You know, this petitioner didn't use a sign company. I don't even know who fabricated that panel. It may have just, they said they fabricated their panel. So, you know, it's not,
wow.
we obviously would like to give you the best representation we can, but sometimes it's just,
Well, it'd be a good suggestion. I think we should look into that.
I think it would be easier for you guys too if they,
Yeah, wouldn't it be?
like a landscaping plan or something, you kind of know what it's there. Here you're kind of like laying down a base for like
Yeah, and
signs, colors and
and I
stuff.
hate to say it, but Pantone does sell a set of color chips for $150 for every one of the 10,000 different
But see, not
colors that they.
every manufacturer uses their colors either. So if they're getting their vinyl from a company that doesn't,
Yeah, but Pantone says that all their colors come within 90%, 95%.
well, yeah, because they have so many.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna get close.
That's
I
something
mean,
to
which is
explore.
probably better than what we get today, so.
Yeah, that's true.
but you'd still get a drawing that
That
doesn't
reflect-
represent it.
Right,
It
doesn't
would
represent
say
it. Right.
9510C, and then you'd look it up, and the drawing,
But you would have a chip,
who would have the chip?
you would,
Oh, okay.
because you've got a chip
So
from
you're saying
them.
then just we buy a set here and just pass them around at the meeting? And we can look at that.
Yeah.
And have them, when they fill out their sign application, just pick one.
Yeah. Well, then you know in the future what,
Don't you have a graphics
Color it
department?
was?
They probably have a book already. There's probably one
Graphics
in the village
department.
somewhere.
We have a sign shop.
Yeah.
They've got 6 colors.
Is one red?
And 5 of them are green. Anything else, Commissioner Steinle?
no, that's it, thank you.
Commissioner Zangara?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Darban?
Well, I don't know if you've paid any attention to this, the dates and the fact that so many of these businesses are still in business, all but what, 2? I think that's pretty amazing. I think that's good for us. The other piece of it is, we talked about little pocket parks and things like that. Did that kind of just go away? I mean, because we're looking at benches and things like that, and whatever happened with that?
It didn't go away. We did an update on
You
it
ought to know that.
at the May 14th meeting. We're working out, we have a couple different things we're working on with it right now. We're getting an estimate for, we had provided a picture of the model that we found in Naperville. We're trying to work with Public Works on an estimate of how much that would cost, and then try to find locations. You know, how do we roll this out? Do we do 10? Do we propose 5? And then the location. So basically, we still have 2 models. There's the small model, which is essentially taking a few squares of sidewalk and enhancing it with a stamped concrete paver instead of a typical concrete. Just do a nice colored stamped concrete, lower maintenance, a bench, and then some really easily maintained landscaping. So we're trying to get an estimate of what that would cost to roll out. And then we have, for locations where the village actually does have a larger amount of land, come up with another model of, but there are very few locations where we actually have enough land to do something useful where it could function as a gathering place for the residents.
Okay, so it is still out there.
It's still out there, yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Powers?
I have nothing.
And I have nothing either.
And we are canceled next week. We have
Yes.
we have to go back to the drawing board on some of these things, but we have no petitioners.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
good vacation, Jim?
Yeah.